Okay, I'm thinking starting at the bottom of page 46, where it starts the absolute. We could start there and then head right on into mother and child.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to start the absolute acting through man.
So, pardon me, page 46.
I'm just starting at the bottom of page 46 to give us a heads up into chapter 6.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Oh yeah, I just want to find it here.
Yeah, the bottom paragraph, the bottom of page 46 starts with the absolute.
Okay.
You there?
Yeah.
Wonderful. The absolute, acting through man, has only the smallest ability to change the situation. And then only in its being, which is itself not in the exterior reality of the creation. Living in artificial harmony, a lifestyle in which we hold ourselves aloof from stressful disturbances, only prolongs the illusion that one is not alone. Bernie, don't have your mic on.
Yes. Sensations of pain are very different from sensations of suffering. Sensing the suffering of the Absolute by 3 centrum identification with the man on the cross is a good method of prayer absolute, if one can really sense what it means to be on the cross, not just for an hour or a day or even a very long time, but before with no hope of release. If the Absolute had been completely seduced into total immersion in the phenomenal world, there would be no possibility of awakening and transformation. Thank you.
Okay. Could you read the last line and the paragraph before last? Because what I heard was something different than what's there.
Okay. If the Absolute had been completely seduced.
The one before that, the line before that.
Sensations of pain.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Sensations of pain are very different from sensations of suffering. Sensing the suffering of the Absolute by 3 centrum identifications with the man on the cross is a good method of prayer absolute, if one can really sense what it means to be on the cross not just for an hour or a day or even a very long time, but forever with no hope of release.
Yeah, thank you.
I had read it
not forever.
No, but I mean, I had read it not. You didn't understand, or I made a mistake. I don't know.
Yeah, no, but it didn't. I knew the forever had to be in there.
So
yeah.
I missed it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and then Sandy, you want to give us the last paragraph on the page?
If the Absolute had been completely seduced into total immersion in the phenomenal world, there would be no possibility of awakening and transformation.
Thank you. So I just wanted us to get that basis before we go into chapter 6, because we have to start from there. Okay, Sandy, carry on.
Thank you. Chapter 6, Mother and Child. An evolved man is like a mother, and the absolute is like his child, in the sense that he sacrifices to the absolute his being, a smaller diamond for the abrasion of the absolute. He offers his soul, which he has produced by his own conscious labors, as a grinding wheel for the eventual change of the being of the absolute.
I love the raised eyebrows helped me to agree that, yeah, that's a chunk, right? It's a good thing we don't have to write our philosophy papers. Jayesh, we are just beginning chapter 6. We've just read.
Yeah.
Okay, good. You're with us. Thank you. It's
But-
Michelle. Yes,
but-
Bert.
What is the meaning of chunk? Chunk, you said.
Chunk is like a handful in your hand, a chunk, a small bit. It's not a large piece, it's a small piece, a chunk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chunk.
It also has another reference. You can have chunky tuna. You can have things that are not smooth, but they're not liquid, but they're chunky. It's also an adjective.
Okay, chunk.
Yeah, it's
Thank
a noun and an adjective. Michelle? Take us in there if you can, please.
If one is able to pacify the mental centrum of the machine, at least partially, one is a good beginning for the accumulation of will to awaken the machine. But, of course, there are many cravings and habits within the machine, some mental, some emotional, and many activities, each forming a momentary centrum of gravity, which briefly become the dictator of the whole machine in its passage through this life. How can we keep ourselves free from these momentary influences operating on the machine from within the machine?
I stop you for a moment, Michelle. Can we try unpacking that second paragraph? Does somebody want to take a go at that?
Yes, it's the eyes. We have many eyes. And every moment, one eye takes the command,
Okay,
and it's called the dominator.
okay,
Here, it's called the dictator.
right.
Hmm?
Yes. Yeah. Okay, thank you. I got hung up with the 3 different kinds of things, mental, emotional, and activities, and I couldn't find the verb that was going to it to make sure that I understood what was going on. Okay, Michelle, thank you for my interruption, and please continue.
Okay, I'll pass.
Oh, okay, Jayesh.
Page and paragraph, please.
It is page 49 and the paragraph at the bottom of the page.
How can we?
Yes. Yes.
How can we keep ourselves free from these momentary influences operating on the machine from within the machine? If we have another centrum of gravity beyond the machine's centrum, of gravity, we have a slender chance to escape its influence on our beings.
Okay. What kind of influence or centrum of gravity are we talking about here?
Well, the work, I guess, right? Or,
Yeah, I think like a practice or
yeah.
yeah, contrary to the automatic. Yeah. Okay.
Cravings and habits.
Yeah.
I see chocolate and I get cravings. Huh?
Oh, thank you for sharing. Please, would you read us another paragraph?
For instance, a mother and child. This child represents to her everything she hopes for. If the child remains her totality of attention in the outer world, then her child becomes her centrum of gravity, and all her energy comes to her completely mechanically from outside herself. She then becomes the child's reciprocal centrum of gravity, preventing the formation of real will in the child, who will then dutifully form the appropriate herd instinct common to all human beings everywhere, becoming completely subject to ordinary social conditioning.
Yeah, that is that's touchy stuff there.
Mm.
Just describing the manner in which a mother could avoid becoming ordinary. I love that. Yeah. What, Bernie?
No, it was a very strong paragraph, no? Yes.
Yes. Yes. And in a certain way, it's the first paragraph in this chapter that's made any sense to me. In a recognizing what it's talking about in myself. So it's helpful to have a way to connect to it.
The use of analogies helps us to understand, no? The analogy.
Reciprocal centrum of gravity and having that as the focus is an error on both parts, both for the child and for the parent. Yeah.
One example would be just the Earth and the Moon. Right now, Moon is which around Earth is revolving kind of situation. Machine versus, instead of the natural rotation has to be Moon revolving around Earth, right?
Yeah.
Instead, right now, without awaken the machine, it's like Moon is on Moon, the Earth is rotating. It's kind of paradoxical, right?
Yeah. It's funny trying to find analogies for the sentence in this book has been the hardest one I've ever encountered, because it doesn't give you any leeway. The language is extremely specific. It just goes so far that I can't follow it, So I'm trying to get pieces of it. I try and take pieces, see if I can work something up. And
Yeah, I mean, if I see in my house, mother and child
yes,
means, whole the centrum of gravity is all around child.
yes,
Totally. So yeah.
yeah. Okay, Nishant, would you like to read?
Yes. Okay. If, on the other hand, her centrum of gravity remains as it should in her solar plexus, her child can become for her the passive force, pushing those substances which she has transformed as a result of her own awakening and transformation upward into the higher worlds. She can use her child in this way and at the same time be of service to her child in the formation of everything necessary for evolution during the preparatory years prior to responsible age, when the child formally enters the tribe, or in the case of America, the labor force.
Okay. What do you think this is talking about? Those substances and the use of those. Well, open discussion, folks. Anything.
I
There's
read.
the attention. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Nishan. I'm just exploring. Go ahead.
It's the attention, right? Where is the attention, right? Mother attention is in the child or on herself. So the attention is in the child, then I think it will be damaging to both mother and the child.
Okay.
I read between lines, and a word came to my mind: the problem of identification.
Mhm.
In this case, mother and child, the need for the mother, not the child. The mother needs to, at some time, break the relation, the glue, the feeling of the property of the child. No, it's.
Mhm.
But I am trying to understand the analogy, in this case,
Yeah.
of the being and the absolute, because we know that he's not talking about exactly the mother and the son. It's an analogy, you know. It's not easy for me, at least,
Yeah.
to get the point, but I hope we see it when we go on. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that is applies to any relationship.
Okay.
If you are focused on the other, I mean, you will damage yourself and the other both, and the relationship will be what is called not toxic, but it won't help anyone.
Mhm.
Yeah. Just codependency. It's not going to help anybody grow.
But what would be the relation for this chapter? Because even it's titled "Mother and Child," it is it is it is trying to show the relation between the awakening man and the absolute. No,
Sure.
yes,
Yeah.
I still don't get it, but anyway.
Yeah, I know. It's like, okay, how many overlaps of content from the previous chapters, and are we supposed to be carrying that into this chapter? Or is this separate? I'm totally confused here, but as a um possible useful tool,
Yes.
If you read the lines and don't refer them to anything except the content of each sentence, and not trying to put it together or have it make reference to anything. I take the first line. If on the other hand, her centrum of gravity, okay, I think I remember what that means. So just there's a physical reality to centrum of gravity, and then there's emotional and psychological and all that. So I kind of have a little bit of that. If it remains in my solar plexus, oh, okay, so now looks like we're talking about the one that's in the physical. Her child can become passive force. What is passive force? Oh, that means doing something without somebody pushing me. Oh, okay. Pushing those substances. What are we talking about? Substances which she, who's the she? Oh, it's the mother. The mother already falling off my trail here. So she, as a mother, has transformed because she has awakened and transformed her own substances in her own solar plexus into higher. That's a lot of jumps for me to make to read the sentence and come up with something that's useful for me. But I realized that the content that he's arriving at here can have like not just multiple layers and multiple references, but multiple uses. Like I can visualize it philosophically, I can visualize it in my life with my children, I can visualize it in terms of practices in the Institute, you know. So it's layered and not specific exactly so that you can apply it. Does that make sense? It's more applicable if it's not specific, which is bizarre, but I think the case. Okay, enough lecture. Who's next? Michelle, did you get to read yet?
Yeah, I read once, yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, well, why don't you read another?
Okay. Are we if the child remains, is there?
Oh yeah, that looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If the child remains her outside centrum of gravity, okay. If the child remains her outside centrum of gravity, she can never really love a child because love can only form around a real centrum of gravity, just as a pearl can only form around a seed. Even though a mother would give her own life for the sake of her child, making the child an exterior centrum of gravity is not a good method for providing what the child will need for responsible age.
Comments? Thoughts, ideas, suggestions?
It's the same thing that in the previous paragraph. It's the same extension of that.
Okay, say it very, very bluntly and plainly for us slow-minded folks here. I'm the one speaking here. Yeah, let me hear it.
No, it's the same thing that there's in the previous paragraph, that if the attention, if the mother, I think it's mother child, it doesn't matter. It's all any relationship, husband, wife, friends. You know, if your attention is on the other, then your centrum of gravity is outside, not inside. Because they mention about solar plexus, right?
Uh-huh.
And should be in her solar plexus. So regardless of who is the other is other. We should not be focused on the other. A healthy relationship is where you are centered in your solar plexus, not on the other.
Okay.
What would be your take, Patricia? How would you take it?
I read again the two paragraphs and I can see how they relate. They're talking about the same line of reasoning, and I can see how they would relate. And I can see that as an expression of what is the job of the mother, it is to provide the child with what it needs to be able to become of responsible age. That's the duty of the mother. So in this thinking, in this discussion, it's maintaining that the mother, therefore, in order to do that job well, must not make her child the centrum of gravity, which I've never considered that as the
Love can
appropriate.
only form around the centrum, a real centrum of gravity, right? Love.
That's, we're going to get into semantics here, which won't help us.
So
You
yeah,
know.
exactly right. So
Yeah. And so I'm taking the words as I think that I understand them. It says, even though a mother would give her own life, making the child an exterior centrum of gravity is not a good method for providing the child what they will need. So that's still a little bit of a conflict in my mind. I'm not there's a word for that. I'm not parsing it.
so this is still in relation to the machine and the being and the absolute, right? This is the
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It's pretty, the references appear to be external, but what they're referencing is what the previous chapters were about. So I'm trying to hold that. Oh my gosh.
and that is
I'm-
being the absolute, right? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go for it, Sandy.
I would just say the first sentence, if the child remains her outside centrum of gravity, she can never really love her child because love can only form around a real centrum of gravity, just as a pearl can only form around a seed. So if the child is her center of gravity, she can't love it, really.
Right.
So if her center of gravity is in her solar plexus, then can she love it, the child?
Yeah,
Because
if
love
this,
can only form around a real centrum of gravity. Am I getting too?
Well, that's
yeah,
the paragraph above says, if on the other hand, her centrum of gravity remains as it should in her solar plexus, her child can become for her the passive force. That's what I mean. It's like, it's a formulation that I haven't considered either linguistically or visually, which is what I'm trying to do with it now.
Mhm.
Let's
Yeah.
look at the page 49 in the bottom.
Yeah.
It's and that will bring some sense what we are reading, because it says, if we have another centrum of gravity beyond the machine's centrum of gravity, we have a slender chance to escape its influence on our beings. So
Yeah.
it looks like we could say psychologically we should not become obsessed in a way, or fanatic, no?
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah. I think you're
Okay,
right.
so that center, I was thinking kind of that centrum of gravity would be the centrum of gravity in our solar plexus, but it's not. It's probably outside.
Yeah.
So that's having that other centrum of gravity would enable us to have our centrum of gravity in our solar plexus. We need, okay, I'm going to stop.
Mhm.
Well, let's try the next sentence because there might be something there that would work. Where are we for reading?
Hans should read because he hasn't read.
Hans, yes, Hans. I'm so sorry. You're so beautiful with your image there. I never see you. Where
Yeah,
did
go
you
ahead. Go ahead. You guys can keep reading.
Oh, but you don't want to read or you're occupied.
No, I don't want to read.
Thank you. Bernie, will
Your,
you?
no, your turn, Pat.
Yeah, my
Your
turn.
turn.
Ordinary impulses of motherhood are to make the child one's outer centrum of gravity and sacrifice one's own, just as organic man makes the organic world his centrum of gravity, to which he sacrifices his own being for the sake of momentary organic pleasures. An evolved man is like a mother, and the absolute is like his child, in the sense that he sacrifices to the absolute his being, a smaller diamond, for the abrasion of the absolute. He offers his soul, which he has produced by his own conscious labors, as a grinding wheel for the eventual change of the being of the absolute. Well, that's a relief.
Mhm.
That's a sentence that makes sense to me.
Mhm.
Ah, man. Sandy?
Can I make a
Yes,
comment?
yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so this one, the organic man, I think is the male part where we work, go to job, make money, buy a house, buy a car,
Sure.
that this is the sake of momentary organic pleasures. Every time all the attention is, oh, how can I make more money?
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of it. It's also, I'm just checking the date on this. 91, okay. Yeah, I'm trying to remember if this is before HBM or not. I think it is. Yeah, human biological machine has a lot of specifics, and this reference doesn't go using that language. So it's saying organic man, whereas, these days we might use that language, the HBM. So that would reference it the same, I think. Anything else on this paragraph, these two paragraphs?
This whole chapter is all about centrum of gravity.
Yes.
That's where we should be.
Yes. Yeah.
I did not understand this smaller diamond for the abrasion of the absolute. What does that mean?
You know how diamonds are made, or diamonds are how they evolve. That the earth crunches itself up underneath us, and there's these little bits of stuff. I think that they use the word, where is it there? sacrifice smaller diamond as abrasion. So to polish or to
Cut and polish.
say,
Cut and polish.
Oh, cut. Okay, okay, got it. Yes, yes. Okay,
okay,
okay. Thank
good.
you.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, where are we?
Some
you-
view.
Some
Thank you.
view,
Did you
some
want to read
view
now,
the
Bartolome?
psychological conditioning of the
Yes.
machine is something alien. Because even when we have just begun to impartially observe the machine, we cannot understand why we had been identified with it, why we had been so interested in the things of the machine. Pass.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yesterday we went to the restaurant and then this guy, we ordered 5 dishes for 4 people. We were supposed to share.
Uh-huh.
And then he got 4. And then I think he forgot the 5th one, and the 5th one was primarily mine actually. Anyways, we finished 4 and we are like 80% full. And I reminded him, can you get the final? He's like, oh yeah, let me check. And then he left. And then 10 minutes later, I asked the other guy, I said, can you check on this? It's already, like we are trying to finish up here. Anyways, long story short, it just got me so upset. And I was like, okay, why am I, upset so much? And because this was the conditioning that, if you go to the restaurant and if the food is not served on time, you're supposed to get mad. And I was just getting mad because I was following that, quote unquote protocol.
Yeah.
That is supposed to be socially, acceptable or socially expected thing. And it was very interesting because very real. Like I was mad, and everyone is.
Yeah.
And I said, this is very interesting. Like it's just like following its own. It's doing its own thing.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, definitely.
regardless of what you want it to do or not.
That's exactly it. It's
yeah.
automatic.
Yeah.
Built in. Yeah. Yeah. Michelle,
Yes.
if we look
Um,
back,
What is that?
if we look back, that's the paragraph he starts with.
Okay.
If we
Got
look
it.
back.
Got it. I have a digital form, so I'm not, I have sometimes problem
Yeah.
to, I've lost the page. So it's 51.
51. Uh-huh.
Yeah. If we look back to childhood, we can discover a time when we felt the same way. We were not interested in anything that the adult seems to find entertaining. As a matter of fact, if we can remember this period in our lives, we will recall that we worked very hard to become interested in these ordinary things in order to achieve the status of a genuine member of the herd.
Thank you.
I don't know. Member of the herd. Should I laugh or cry?
I think you should probably read the next paragraph.
Do you remember what you had to do in order to form those interests? Do you remember that if you were to develop ordinary interest, you were also forced to develop the corresponding personality? Had a shock been applied to at 2 exact points in your early life, you would never have been forced to develop false centrums and the machine conditioning that goes along with them. Pass.
Ernie,
Thank you. This idea is heretical now, but someday will be accepted by educators as education becomes enlightened. Children not to be taught anything in particular, although the method of teaching them what they wish to learn must be exact, drawing their learning out of them rather than imposing some pre-assembled scholastic structure upon them. May I read again? It's very...
Yes, yes,
yes,
please.
yes, yes, go ahead,
Yes.
read it again.
I have
This idea,
underlined them, so just go ahead. Sorry.
yes. This idea is in reality is very
Heretical,
heretical. Yes, okay, because it's not what we think education is. No,
right?
this idea is heretical now, but someday will be accepted by educators as education becomes enlightened. Children need not to be taught anything in particular, although the method of teaching them what they wish to learn must be exact, drawing their learning out of them rather than imposing some pre-assembled scholastic structure upon them. Oof.
Yeah, that's heavy duty, isn't it?
Mm. It so contradicts our idea of education, no?
Definitely.
And
Public school education, anyway.
yes, yes. May I continue a bit more?
Yes.
And at certain ages, a series of shocks can be applied. This was actively practiced in several very enlightened ancient civilizations as a natural part of the ordinary process of a child's education. When these special shocks are introduced, the diversion of impressions to false centrums is not induced, allowing the child to develop the higher mental, emotional, and moving and reflexive centrums, along with the high attention and conscience, which should be the natural product of education.
What is mean? It says had a shock been applied at 2 exact points in your early life, you would never have been forced to develop false centrums and the machine conditioning that goes along with.
So you're on page 51, paragraph before the bottom, starts with do you
Yes, yeah,
okay.
this one.
So the question is, if there had been if a shock had been applied at 2 exact points, you would never have been forced to develop false centrums. Yes, what is that? I don't know, maybe it'll say later on, but
The electric shock you need to go through.
I don't believe the case is electric. I believe the case might be something like boo or something like that,
I was just joking.
Oh, good.
Mm.
The references are some of EJ's books you just go through and like things link up with other things easily and quickly, and this is one of those texts where it isn't like that. And so I'm still working on the that chart with all the holy people and the gods and everybody. It is something to ponder, but I also have strong faith and lots of experience knowing that there will be references further in the text. The point for me these days is, will I remember I'm looking for that? So will I know it when I find it? You know, that kind of thing.
I think this guy, EJ, he's a very good writer in the sense that it excites our curiosity and not giving us an answer, a pre-digested answer, no, that we also crave. Oh, wow, what is it? What, where, how? But it takes us from one page to the other, and that is very. He's a master in that. No, he's cooking a meal for us, but slowly.
That's very good way of putting it. Yes. It is a whole meal. Yes, that's nice. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say that this is actually putting into practice what he's talking about. It says, when these special shocks are introduced, that's what he's doing right now. He's teaching us that way. He's drawing the learning out of us rather than telling us what's what, right? Yeah, it's very,
Yeah.
Good point.
anyway, yeah.
It
Yeah,
is.
the learning.
Yeah, it is the learning. It is the true learning. It is to be hoped that someday there will be a number of initiates in schools able to perform this function so that conditions can be organized in which this can be introduced into the lives of children. Now it should be stated that the same shocks can be introduced into an adult. However, an adult is very fixated, and the shock can be destructive unless extreme care is taken. Adults are very delicate. So the question for me when I read this chapter, and I mean, gosh, it's massive. It's only 4 pages, but it's like, if it's called mother and child, and the references are like, what do you call those, parallels? I can't remember the thing, you know, where you have something that's similar to something else, like models or whatever. If the reference is mother and child, and we have all this, you know, cultural and family tradition, and we're all adults and we're reading this now, as a practice from this chapter, what is it that you can take to work with for the next 2 weeks?
I think it's talking about the being, because adults, as you know, as you grow up, you develop all these different personalities and different eyes, and you want to protect those eyes, right? Because that is your identity. You don't have a being, so you are just protecting it. So anything that will shock and will, you know, stimulate the being, that the eyes will be like, it will just break down like a, you know, house of cards, and they will lose it. Yeah, adults will lose it, because it all their, again, the centrum of gravity is on those personal, on those eyes, which have no what do you call, existence of their own, only what
Right.
you are feeding it.
Right. So I would
Just
say,
like mother and child, yeah.
yeah, I would say the first sentence says, if one is able to pacify the mental centrum of the machine, at least partially, that would be whatever you do in order to work towards that goal. That would be the first one that's mentioned in this chapter.
Yeah. Yeah, like if you are, you know, And whatever your profession is, you are doctor, engineer, and you just constantly think, oh, I'm a doctor, I'm a doctor, I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
And somebody says, oh, you're not a doctor. So I mean that's a big shock
Mhm.
um, for
Yes.
anyone, right?
So we've got 50 years of EJ's techniques, technologies, programs, possibilities, whatever you want to call it. So there's a multitude of practices that can be assigned to producing this statement: pacify the mental centrum, at least partially.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
And
have.
Yeah, you can do that when you are sick. It no, seriously, especially when you get flu or something,
Uh-huh.
it's a good time to like meditate, because
Mhm.
your other like physical mental centrum is like pacified, right? You don't have enough energy to maintain all those things. You are just a
Right.
sick person, so
You got a built-in excuse.
it's easy to keep what do you call, like focus on your presence.
Yes. Yeah. Ready-made situation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, I think same thing happens when, just as the example, somebody thinks, oh, I'm a good engineer, or whatever their job is, and the boss says you are the worst engineer. And
Yeah.
that picture is, like gets attacked, right?
Yeah.
And that's a good time also to look within.
Yeah. You have a disturbed picture now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Hey, can't hear you, Bardo. Bardo man, could you put your sound on? No? Oh, okay. It's not for us. You're not going to share. When we have 5 or 6 of these chapters, because that's where we'll get to, when we have 5 or 6 of these chapters that have segments in them of references like this, if we want to, we could start keeping notes and share with the group the next time what we did with this chapter. Because
so I
yeah.
had a question. What is the easiest method to make the mental centrum passive would be?
Let's say the last bit again. What is the easiest method to do what?
To make the mental centrum passive.
Oh, just shut it down.
That makes
Go for it, Sandy.
that makes me think of the I forget the name of it.
Popcorn?
Popcorn exercise, yeah, where you put all of your attention, when you can remember, on your body. That's quite amazing. Yeah. And there's a really good talk of the month about that.
Yes.
Really good talk of the month, number 27.
You have them
Popcorn
at
talk. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
that's what that is for. Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to understand what Nishant said. Did he say that when he heard you are the worst engineer, is that created a shock, and that would be a useful thing? Is that related?
Yeah,
to
it would attack your eye, right? It's a
Okay, got
self-image,
it.
that personality falls.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank
So
you.
it's
Yeah.
crumbling down.
Good.
You always thought you are the best in the world.
Got
Mm.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
thought that too, Michelle. It's a shock. Yeah. It's a shock.
Yes.
Also, emotional, what is called, will weaken the mental centrum. You know, if you are, EJ talks about this mantra in this cosmic key, the Gate Gate, and he said it's a heart sutra. I tried it, but I was not, it was not very successful for me, but maybe that
You
will
have to
judge.
keep trying, Nishant.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I will try, but you know, so far it's not been very successful. But I think anytime you are more emotional, you know, with the kids, you know, wife, spouse, I think that would weaken the mental syndrome. You're not thinking about that all the time, right? It will bring the attention to the heart emotional syndrome.
It definitely requires a decision on your part to do something other than what you are automatically doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that in itself, for some of us and in some circumstances, is a shock to the system. So that can work also.
Yeah.
I have enjoyed my time with you folks today, and I really appreciate that we're using this book because it's it has a standard to which I would like to aspire.
Sounds like a survival kit.
Yes. Exactly. Yes.
Mm.
So we will see each other in 2 weeks from today, and we can close out with our 4 lines in
Yes.
any language you choose.
Okay.
Paul.
All
All
phenomena
phenomena
is
illusion,
illusion, neither
Neither
attracted
attracted
nor
nor
nor repelled,
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 not
not
making
making
any
any
sudden
sudden
moves.
moves.
My
My
habits will
habits will
carry me
carry
through.
me
carry
through.
me through.
True.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thanks
Thank you.
all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good
Good night.
night.